Welcome to A Toast to Truth, where we share our experiences dealing with emotional, mental, and or financial frustrations in business. Do you sometimes feel like a fraud? This is Season 2, Episode 11, Public Success, Private Failure. Today's special guest co-host is Kim Handy, the Creative Entrepreneur of GlammGirl. And so I want to welcome Kim to today's episode. Hey, Kim.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Bernetta. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited because I always like to share how I met people before we get into today's topic. And so Kim and I have known each other a really long time. Like, we both had other businesses before the ones we had now. Kim was even a guest on a short-lived talk show I had. A short-lived talk show I had, like, when was that? In 2013. Yeah, 2013. Yes. And so, you know, she's been someone who has supported me through, like, I would say pretty much every stage since we met. So I definitely, you know, am excited to have Kim on this season to share. But before we get into today's topic, we're going to pop some bubbly. And so we're going to just share a little celebration of what we have going on in business, and I will go first. Okay, so my poppin' bubbly moment this week is I am very, very grateful for genuine, true friendships, especially in business. And Kim is one of those genuine, true friendships in business, because they say, you know, women don't support each other or whatever. That's so not the case, especially if you ever get to know Kim. She's one of those sweet people. So I am, that's my poppin' bubbly moment for this week is I am very, very grateful for the true, genuine business friendships that I have.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so is it my turn?
Yes. What is yours?
Okay. Mine really is basically about my business. I recently rebranded, and I feel like I'm always celebrating because with the rebrand from just focusing on skincare to now focusing more on being a lifestyle brand and offering products that serve the whole woman and not just one aspect of the woman feels so much more natural for me, and I feel like I'm able to really flow in that area of having a lifestyle brand, and it's been very well received. So I'm excited about that and excited about things to come.
Okay, so before we hop into today's topic, Kim knows I like candles, but I don't like to burn them. Like at one time, my sister would come in and she's like, "You hoard candles." Like, I would have candles everywhere. And somebody had the nerve to burn one of my candles. I just went off. I'm like, excuse me, these are decorative things. These are not what you burn in my house.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, these are not what you burn. But Kim has, like, the prettiest candles, and every time she posts them, I'm like, man, I don't know why people burn them. I'm like, I don't know why people burn them. They're so pretty. But anyway, so I will have a link to her website so you can see her candles, so you can see how pretty they are, and then you're going to be like me. You're going to wonder, why do people burn those candles? They're too They're too pretty. So I would say, I know that's very odd. You know, why have candles and not burn them? But I always like to buy pretty candles, and I'm like, they're just decorative, you know, things that you have on shelves and stuff. So that's my quirky moment. Those who've been listening to the podcast, you know I'm a quirky person, and I have a lot of stories. So you all have bared with me this far through episode 11 in season 2. So you're still here. So you're used to my quirks. Okay, so we're going to hop into today's topic. The question I ask is, do you sometimes feel like a fraud? And at times I did, especially when I had Women Are Game Changers, because I felt like all these women had me on this pedestal and they expected me to know everything about running a business. And actually, when I started Women Are Game Changers, it was not even business focused. It was really just me trying to figure out what it was I was going to do with it. So my sister shared health and fitness. We were going around to events in Houston. We were sharing about, we tried to do some trending things. We really wanted to focus on the everyday woman. So if we talked about celebrities, it would be positive stories about celebrities. I remember it had to be like December 2011. I wrote a blog post on Leymah Gbowee. She won a Nobel Peace Prize. She's from Liberia. And 3 years later, we're speaking at the same conference, the Texas Conference for Women. So that has nothing to do with today's topic, but I just wanted to say you just never know, what can happen in the future. I'm writing about this lady and how amazing I think she is, and 3 years later, we're speaking at the same conference, and I got to have a conversation with her, and she signed her book for me, and I was so nervous. Now, mind you, I'm in the speaker's room. I'm so nervous, and she just starts laughing, and I'm like, you don't understand. I've written about you. Like, I really, I really have followed your story. So it was one of those moments. But at that point, when I was speaking to her, that's when I stopped feeling like a fraud, because I'm like, here I am in a room with Leymah Gbowee. She has a Nobel Peace Prize. Sitting at the table right next to her is Randy Zuckerberg, sister of Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm like sitting here, and I'm like, there's Jenny Lawson, the bloggist, very, very well known. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, and I'm speaking at the same conference with all these women I admire. So why should I feel like a fraud? Because I don't know everything.
Right. Yeah, that's understandable. And, there have been times when I was just doing skincare that I guess you could say I felt like a fraud, because I felt like I was doing what people expected me to do, and not so much what I really was passionate about doing or felt led to do. And then I felt that I had to, launch these new products like every 90 days, have something new and fresh, because people were asking for different things. And it's funny.
And that's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And the other downside to that was that those same people who were asking, well, do you have this, or can you get this, or why don't you have this? Well, when I, made it available, those people didn't even purchase what they had recommended or what they had suggested. So it was very disheartening. It was very disheartening, and I really had to, take a step back, regroup, and really think about what it was that made me happy, what it was that I felt natural doing, and that was the beginning steps of the whole rebranding of my business.
And see, you made some really good points, because I've talked about it in several other episodes as well. It feels like, when you're living for other people's expectations, it's always like a drowning feeling. You just never feel as if you're good enough. You always feel as if you're having to prove something to someone. But the moment you, tap into who you are is the moment you're like, oh, I don't care.
Exactly.
You're free. You're like, I don't care. And you're not being rude. You're not being mean. You're just like, this is what I want to do, and I shouldn't have to minimize what I want to do to accommodate other people. And especially what you said, when they don't even support after they said they wanted it.
Exactly. That was the biggest surprise, because at first I was like, oh, my God, I'm excited. These people are coming to me, asking for very specific things. And, I'm, producing and delivering and creating all these wonderful products, and then I make them available, and I never hear from them again.
And then what people don't know is you actually create the products. Like, Kim is actually, testing and mixing things. And she does it in a natural way.
I'm in my kitchen. Exactly. I'm in my kitchen. I'm mixing. My kitchen looks like a wreck. I have all of these notes. I'm, formulating very specifically, with percentages and, sourcing all of these ingredients all over the world. And, it can and it was just so disheartening. And I said, and thankfully I did not allow that to last a long time. I learned really, really quickly that that was not the direction that I wanted my business to go in.
Because, I've been there, and I know the listeners are probably tired of me talking about my webinar failures, but, I really want y'all to get this, because I didn't learn the lesson the first 100 times. I tried I tried to do it, but webinars are just not my thing, and I just kept trying. Someone's like, oh, I want to know this. So then I would create a whole curriculum, a whole workbook to go with it. I would have all these extra bonuses to go with it, and then I would specifically reach out to the people who were interested in that topic, and then they weren't interested in buying, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I just spent all this time creating something, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? You said you wanted it. I created it. Why aren't you buying it?
Right. That's frustrating.
And so
that is frustrating.
I really had to learn to stop doing that. So then I got to the point where I was like, okay, so then I'll start asking people what they want, and I'll create after I see if there's interest. Still flops. Those who listen to, what was that episode? I think it was episode 8 where we talked about, episode 7 where we talked about launch, success, and flops. I talked about all my flops with webinars. But I'm saying all this to say, publicly, people see me and they see a perception of me. Now, I'm not the type of person, I don't put out how much money I make. I don't put out stats. I don't put out even who I'm working with, because I feel if I'm working with those people, that's, between us, I don't need to tell their business. That's not my place to sit there and say, oh, I'm working with so-and-so and all this stuff. That they came to me for help. I don't need to I don't need to put it out there. So publicly, people have this perception of me that I have everything going on. And in season 1, when I talked about me being homeless for 25 months and how, I was going from place to place, staying places, maybe staying in a hotel here and there, whatever, but I had left my condo because I said, am I going to keep my condo that was close in the Galleria area? And those who are in Houston, that's not a cheap area to stay in.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
I bought that condo when I was 25. I was so excited. I was a teacher. I had steady income. Then, fast forward, I'm not a teacher. I'm an entrepreneur. The income is not as steady, to pay HOA dues, to pay a mortgage, to pay all this stuff. And then I'm trying to also make sure my business is surviving. I opted for my business. So here I am, no one even knew 2 out of the 3 years I had Fusion, I didn't have my own home to go to. So, when I had the episode come out, a lot of people started texting and calling. They were like, but you looked so successful online. You were traveling everywhere and you were doing this. And I'm like, that's what people don't get. You don't get the money part of business. You don't get the sacrifices that have to be made. So publicly, you all thought I was this huge success. Privately, I feel like a failure because I'm like, even though I am making money, it's not enough to keep a mortgage in the Galleria area and run a business and take care of other stuff that I needed to pay for in order to just live.
Right, exactly. And one thing that I always tell people is that perception is always personal, and it's not always our fault or our intent to, be perceived a certain way. And, on social media, it's so easy, because because you can because most people are posting the positives. They're posting their successes. And I just recently created this hashtag for my business page called #worries&wins, because in business there are things that we worry about. There are challenges that we go through. There are failures that we experience. But then, we're also winning at some point if we don't give up. But, you can't really do a whole lot about how people perceive you. But, when I'm on social media, there are times when I do want to share, some of the circumstances that I may not be as successful in, because I want people to really see me as a real person and not just, this up-and-coming business owner where everything is going as planned, because it does not happen like that at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Exactly. And a lot of people, and, people may think I'm bashing all these online experts or whatever about how they're trying to tell people, live your purpose. And, listen to episode 7, because I went on my little rant about the purpose thing. But, they're telling you can make $10,000 in 10 days, and, you can launch a business in 30 days, and all, all of these things that, yes, can happen, but 99.9999% it's not going to happen for you. And the reason is because they're variable.
Another thing I want to just chime in on that is that, those people who are saying, I had a $5,000 month or $10,000 month, yes, that's possible. But what they don't say is how much they actually invested to have that top-of-the-line website created, hire this phenomenal team, create all these lead pages, create these sales funnels, and do that. I mean, the money that they invested is probably 4 or 5 times what they actually made when they're saying they made $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. They don't tell you what it's going to cost you up front to get that team together to help you, reach that financial goal.
I mean, you made a really good point, because say they invested $6,000 in ads, but they only made $5,000. They can't say they made $5,000, because actually they're negative $1,000.
Exactly.
So they're not even doing the accounting right. So you have to be very cautious, because yes, their revenue may have been $5,000, but that's not their profit. And there are different between revenue, profit, income. And so when people saw with Fusion, and they saw all the tickets that were being sold, because they saw the pictures of all the people there, and I guess they were trying to count how much money I made, they didn't take into account every place had a venue. Venues cost. Food cost. To market the event cost. To buy stuff that needed to be bought cost. So when I say I would break even, but you made all this money. Yeah, I had expenses. That's part of a business.
Right. Exactly.
So that to me, I would always get confused, and then I'm like, they aren't really in business. They're just playing business, because when you're in business, you understand those expenses, and then you start saying, I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, so I'm going to give like a personal thing. Like Kim and I and a group of friends, we went to like the cigar place. When was it? Like in January or something like that.
Yes, we went to a ladies' night at a cigar place.
Yeah, and so I'm an introvert, and they all know that. And so someone, I'm not going to name that person, text in the group text, no one can back out. I knew that was directed at me, but I won't say anything.
Okay.
Like, get out the house. But what I'm saying is, when you become an entrepreneur, even things like that you have to take into consideration. Do I have the gas money and the money to spend hanging out with my friends, or am I going to spend that gas money and that money in my business?
Exactly. You have to. Sometimes you have to choose. You can't do it all.
Exactly, and that's a hard choice, because sometimes you do want and need to hang out with your friends, but you're like, man, I have this coming up, and I really need to make sure all of my money is accounted for. All of my money is there, because I don't want any shortcomings if I'm launching something. Because even if you plan a very well executed launch, there's still expenses that may pop up out of the blue that you didn't even account for. So you never want to be short when you're getting ready to put something out there.
Right. You want that cushion.
Exactly. So when we're talking about, do you sometimes feel like a fraud? I think everyone has at one point in time. But my thing is, like, how do we get over it? How do we feel like my public success is, and it's going to be a private success as well? Like, I'm not going to feel like I'm living a double life. That's what I felt. I felt privately I was living one way because I'm like, I wouldn't know what people would think if they knew my situation. But publicly, you know, they look at me and see this, but privately I'm like, they don't understand how much money I'm really putting in so that they can enjoy this event, so that they themselves feel like I had a great time, you know.
I think for me to, you know, to just answer your question is, I think first of all, we have to be honest with ourselves, you know, and stop perpetrating and lying to ourselves, because one thing that has helped me is that if I get an invitation to, you know, go somewhere or be a part of an event and, you know, I may not have the money, first I will tell myself I can't afford this. And then when I respond to the person who invited me, I will let them know I'm not able to afford this. You know,
I've done that many a time.
and it just kind of stops right there. I don't go into a long explanation of why or what happened, because anything could happen. I mean, at our age, you know, like, for example, you know, some of us at our age, we may be taking care of our parents who may need our help financially. You know, we may have kids who may need our help financially, or, you know, with all the layoffs that's been going on, you know, and you have a two-income household and now you may be down to a one-income household. It could be anything. It could be, you know, car repairs. I mean, it could be absolutely anything that could just kind of throw a wrench into your whole financial plan at the moment. So what has helped me is to be honest with myself and say, you know, can I afford this? Yes or no? Do I want to go? Yes or no? And then, you know, I just respond to the person, and I don't allow that to be a heavy weight on my shoulders anymore.
That's a good point. Excuse me. I know I will let the person know, like, if something's going on, no, I can't come, and this is the reason why. And I don't go into great lengths about it, but I'll let them know. Now, some people I know have taken it as if I was making up an excuse. I'm like, first of all, if I didn't want to go, I would just say no.
Yeah.
But if I'm giving you an excuse, it's telling you that I really did want to go, but here's the reason I can't, and I'm wishing you well. If I could support you in another way, I'll do that. But, yeah, so I've had some people take it the wrong way, as if, you know, I'm brushing them off or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't take it personally because I'm thinking, well, shoot, I couldn't go. So, I mean, what else could you do?
Exactly. I mean,
like, what else did you want from me?
For you to do. Exactly. That's it.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back because I really want us to really dive deep into the public success part, because that seems to be a trend, and I want because Kim and I have had businesses before the ones we've had now, so we've kind of seen things change, especially in Houston. You know how the business world has changed in the public arena. So we're going to take a quick sip, and we will be right back. Ready to face the truth in your business? Schedule a Truth Power session. I act as your sounding board, giving you feedback, critiques, suggestions, while teaching you how to mentally detox using journaling. Go to VernettaRFreeney.com/truthconfidant. And don't forget to pre-order the Truth Confidant Journal. Okay, so we're back, and I really wanted to go into the public success part because, I mean, we really don't have to harp on the private failure. We've all had those experiences, and Kim has given some really good suggestions on how to overcome the private failure part. But the public success, you know, how do you deal with people having you, perceiving you a certain way? Like, I had this quote that I put out, you know, perception may be reality, but it could be a false reality. Because just because someone is putting out that they scored a client, that client may be a $500 client, but you may have perceived it as a $5,000 client. So now here you are counting somebody else's money and putting them in some type of space that they may not even belong in. They didn't give you specifics. They just said, oh, I got a new client. And then the public is now putting them, oh, well, they're doing this and they're making this money, so I don't understand why they're not doing this and they're not supporting this person. So, Kim, you've been in the Houston business scene a while. You've seen kind of the trends. The public success, perception is a beast. It is. Yes. It's really. It can eat you alive if you don't know how to handle yourself.
It is, and it's true, and I think because of that public perception, sometimes people want you to be a part of their group. They want you to be in their circle of friends. They want to, pull you in once they perceive you to have that level of success that is, I guess, acceptable to them. But one thing that I always remind myself is to remain humble, and I really enjoy helping other people. I get emails all of the time. I get messages privately all of the time asking, of me to be of assistance in some way. And if it's something that I feel good about, then I'll definitely do it. But unfortunately, a lot of times I can't have a direct conversation with a lot of the people who contact me. But the ones that I can, they really get to see that, I may be introverted, but I'm just kind of a down-home, I have a quirky side,
very chill.
Just down-home, very chill and just, very real. And, I love inviting people into, what I do and what, I love to do as far as being creative. And I love that when people take an interest in that, but I also take an interest in the other person as well, So I think, again, just remaining humble and being there as a help or to serve others, to me, helps that perception,
And you made a really good point when you mentioned a lot of people come to you and they ask you for help, and I'm gonna shift that a little bit, because if you are an entrepreneur, a lot of people come to you to sponsor things, to donate things, to support their cause, which is all well and good, because we all have causes and things. But when you start telling people that you're not able to, then for some reason they feel you're being stingy or you're not helping the community. And it goes back to that whole public success thing. Just because what you see online doesn't mean I can financially support 100 different nonprofits.
Exactly.
Like, I don't have the money to do that.
Exactly. Because, they do see online, other businesses or organizations or businesswomen that I have helped or that I have supported or provided products to. And I think that is kind of like the open door for them to think, well, she's done it for this person, that person, whatever, let's reach out to her and ask her if she would do the same for us. But what I have personally done, I have created a personal business policy that there are a number, I have a set number that I do not go over when I talk about providing free products or sponsoring a year, and that number is 3. I will give to 3 businesses, sponsor whatever annually, and once that number is done and someone asks me, I just have to tell them that I've already reached my limit for the year. I've already, reached my commitment level for the year.
That's a good policy. I know a lot of businesses do that, and it's the best way to protect yourself. Because I remember one year at Women Are Game Changers, I was supporting a lot of nonprofits. I was supporting a lot of businesses, and I kept listening. I'm like, when did I commit myself to doing all of this?
It catches up to you, and you end up spreading yourself too thin.
I had to let everybody know, like 2016, I'm not supporting anyone because the Houston African American Bloggers Association is a new association, so it's taking time to build that. So I don't have time to support all these nonprofits that I once did, or support all these businesses that I once did. And this one nonprofit, I asked her to do something, for me, and she agreed. And then I texted her back, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to help with this fundraiser. And she was like, you know what, you've supported for years. It is okay if you have to do you for right now.
Yeah.
And so the people who understand, they get it. But yeah, this year I just flat out had to contact everyone and just say, I'm not supporting anyone this year because of the association. And then I also have my mission trip to Haiti. So I have those two things, and that's all I'm doing as far as giving back this year. And for me, that's kind of different because I'm always helping someone. Like, I'm always sharing about some nonprofit. I'm always trying to support someone's conference or event or something like that. But I'm like, this year, I really had to take a hard look at my finances because I no longer own Women Are Game Changers. I'm starting a new business. And when you start a new business, you really have to pay attention to your finances. And then my CPA, she's really on me about paying attention and not always donating and stuff like that. So, yeah, that when Kim mentioned, people asking for help, I immediately thought people always want a business to support them, but in return, a lot of them don't even buy your products or services. So you have to think about it. If I'm not making money, how am I going to continue to support your nonprofit or sponsor your event or whatever you have for your business?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And it's something that we as business owners need to definitely, consider when we're constantly giving, which is fine. But when we get to the point where it's becoming a sacrifice every single time and it's, affecting our financial bottom line, then I think that's when we really need to rethink and regroup about what exactly is what we're doing.
Exactly. So for those who are listening, Kim gave a really great suggestion is to have a policy. Say how she has three businesses or nonprofits she would support. I know Kylie, who owns Big Girl Cosmetics out of Chicago, she has X amount of products that she will give away. And when those products are gone, they're gone. And so I always tell people, try to around December, January, because not many people are asking for stuff then because they're celebrating the holidays. That's when you go to a business and ask, can I get on your, make sure you're on their list to get what they are able to donate. So you're on there first and you don't have to worry about like, oh, my event's in October and you wait till September. Boo, you may not get anything.
Exactly, because we're as business owners who have products, we're getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah.
So we may not be as available to give, around the end of the year.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's a really good policy. And then for me, like I said, because I know my time has changed because I have a lot of different projects that I'm working on. But what I'm doing this year, all of the projects have different time links. However, the association is a year-round project. So I opted to be, that is my give back, being available to the members in that group, being available to provide any and everything that the association needs. So that means I can't, sit on a board. I've sat on nonprofit boards. I can't sit on a board this year. I can't donate my time traveling outside of Houston, because I've done that. I've traveled outside of Houston, outside of Texas, to speak for free for a nonprofit. And, you know, I paid all my travel expenses and everything, which wasn't a big deal to me because I wanted to support it. But I can't do that anymore. Well, not this year.
Right.
And so, you know, just going back and wrapping up with our topic, you know, public success, private failure, here I am standing in front of, you know, all these places speaking, and a lot of times I was speaking or paying my own travel to go speak if it was out of the state. And here I am. I'm like, if I don't leave with a client, I would have just wasted money with this plane ticket.
Yes.
And, all of this other stuff. And it's like, oh my God, you know, then you start stressing yourself out, trying to make sure that
you
I need to make sure I speak well.
Right, exactly. You want to make the best of it.
So you have this public persona that they're looking at, but privately while you're speaking, you're like, I need 3 people to sign up for this. You know, I need to leave with X amount of dollars to make the trip worth it.
Yeah, that's that hustle part. That's that hustle.
Yeah, and you know, people say work smart, not hard. Here's what I want people to understand about the work smart, not hard. To be smart, you actually have to have, like, some kind of plan, strategy. I don't know why people say, oh, I'm following the 4-hour work week. People, have y'all actually understood the concept of his book? He wasn't saying when you start a business, you actually work 4 hours a week. 4 hours a week. What Tim Ferriss did was build systems and processes where he has employees doing the work. So he only has to do 4 hours related to that particular business. So he can spend time traveling and writing and, you know, all these things. But I'm like, because I was watching The Prophet. I love the show on CNBC, The Prophet. And it was this candy company, and the co-owner, he was like, well, yeah, I read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And Marcus Lemonis was like, but that doesn't mean you only work 4 hours a month.
Right, exactly.
You know, and so in his mind, because the company looked good in the public's perception in I can't remember the town in Florida, his mind, because the company looked good and it was popular, he thought everything was okay. But privately, the other co-owners, which were a married couple, they weren't even collecting the paycheck. Like, they were struggling financially because they kept putting all of the money back into the business because he didn't want to work and he didn't want to contribute financially because he was on this whole 4-hour work week lifestyle.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, Marcus literally blew up, and he bought that man out. He was like, look, I'm buying you out. And then the man had this obscene amount. He, like, wanted $1 million or something to be bought out. And Marcus was like, you didn't even put money into the business. You don't even work, but you want this huge profit. And so, you know,
thing.
I say all this to say, just because a business, you know, looks good in the public perception, you see people going in, or you see, you know, people, the press writing about them, you have no idea privately if the co-owners are getting a loan, and if they're actually contributing financially, or if they're even taking an income. You know, I feel bad for that couple.
All of that behind the scenes work. I mean, it's definitely some effort going into that. You know, it's not effortless. It's not seamless. There's, you know, a team. There's monies involved. There's, you know, something in the background that's making those wheels turn, you know.
I mean, it was just so funny. But I use that example for people to understand the whole public success, private failure thing. Now, like I said, the show is called The Prophet, and it's on CNBC. And you can go to CNBC.com and learn more about that show. But that was a prime example of this man thought that they were living large because they had this public perception about the company, and privately, the other co-owners weren't even getting a paycheck. Like, I'm like, how are they paying their bill? You know, how are they paying their bills and stuff like this? privately, they were so stressed out over the financial part of it. And this man is living this 4 hour a month lifestyle.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up, and we're gonna do a final toast where we share our takeaway from today's episode. So I'll go first. Okay, so my final toast for today's episode is something Kim shared. You know, have a policy in place so that you are not overextending yourself when it comes to giving to nonprofits or sponsoring other businesses. I think that's a really good policy to have. So that's my final toast. What's your final toast?
My final toast would be to just be authentic. And I know that's kind of cliche-ish, and it's sometimes easier said than done, especially when we get caught up in the wins and the successes of our business. But just be authentic, and, you know, because people do perceive us to always be on that level where everything is working the way we planned, but we know that's not the case. So when I say be authentic, that's what I mean. Remember that, you know, there were times when we were not established, you know, and I think people who are looking up to us, because they're out there, we may not know who they all are, but for those who are looking up to us and wanting to do something similar to what we're doing, they need to know that being authentic is important.
That's a good point. To remember you weren't always established. I like that.
Yep.
Well, this has been a Toast to Truth with Vernetta Arfreni. That's me chatting it up with my good friend Kim Handy about public success, private failure. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.